ब्रह्मनाथ ओ शांति 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 स्वस्थ।
Hello students, in the previous class we discussed about the introduction portion of the circulation, in which we discussed that the circulation means it is the flow of the extracellular substance within the body from one part of the body to the another part of the body, and those are the essential substances. In the vertebrate, the circulation is being done by the blood, by the lymph, whereas in the case of the invertebrates it is done by the hemocoelomic fluid, water, blood also, and also various body fluid. Next we discuss that is the body fluid. It is the substance which helps in the circulation of the substances and the gases. Next we discuss that the body fluid is of two types, students: extracellular body fluid and the intracellular body fluid. Similarly, if the body fluid is present outside the cell, then similarly it is known as extracellular body fluid, and if it is present inside the cell, it is the intracellular body fluid. Next we discuss the intracellular fluid. Next we discuss the extracellular fluid such as the common fluid, the interstitial fluid, synovial fluid, okay. Then the blood plasma, tissue, then the lymph plasma we discuss. So these are the various extracellular body fluids. For the students, we have discussed the composition of the blood, okay. We discussed that is the blood viscosity, it is higher than that of water, and also various characteristics we have discussed. Next we discuss the composition of the blood. Blood consists of the cellular part and the plasma part. The cellular part are being suspended, or we can say present inside the liquid part. Cumulatively we call this the blood. Next we discuss completely about the plasma, which consists of 91 to 92% water. Rest remaining is the, we can say, the consist of organic and the inorganic constituents, in which 8.1% consist of the organic constituents and the remaining 0.9% consists of the inorganic constituents such as sodium, calcium, chlorine, potassium, magnesium, phosphorus, etc. So by this we discussed in our this much we have discussed in our previous class. Today students, we will discuss the cellular part, that is we can say the blood cells or the blood corpuscles cells. Student, first point, as we discussed that the plasma the blood consists of the 60% of the, we can the plasma or the blood consists of, means the consistence of the 60% of the blood consists of the plasma, whereas the remaining portion is the cell. So we can simply write, student, the blood consists of the 40% of blood consists of the we can say the blood cells or the blood corpuscles, which is are of three types. We discussed RBC or the erythrocyte, WBC or the white blood cell, whereas the third one is your blood platelets or the thrombocyte. Okay, let's write the first point. First point, 40% of blood consists of the blood cells okay. It is of three types, students. It is of three types. It is of three types. Next point, as it is the cellular part of the blood, we can say, na student, that it is the living component or the living part of the cell. Obviously, as it is the cellular part, we can also say that the blood cells are the living part of the blood. So we can write it is of three types, and it is the living part of the blood. Okay. What are the various three types? You know already. First one is, or we can say, the RBC or the red blood corpuscles or the erythrocytes. So simply I will write RBC or erythrocytes. Second one, the WBC or the white blood cells or the white blood cells and the leukocyte. WBC or the leukocytes. Third one is, your student, the blood platelets or the, we can say, the blood platelets or we can say the thrombocytes. The thrombocytes. Okay, students. So it is of three types. What? RBC, WBC and the blood platelets. Erythrocyte, leukocytes and the thrombocytes. Next we will start, student, firstly the RBC or the, we can say, the erythrocyte. Students, the RBC shape is somehow we can say biconcave in shape, and these are non-nucleated. Means what, student? These cells does not have the nucleus, but in exception we will discuss, but generally RBC does not have any form of nucleus. Means, or we can say it is devoid of the nucleus or nucleus is absent. So we can write RBC is non-nucleated having biconcave shape. So we can write RBC is non-nucleated, means nucleus is absent, non-nucleated and biconcave in shape. Okay, biconcave means what, student? Like this shape, biconcave. Okay, both sides are tapered. Okay, biconcave in shape. Next point, students, what is the, we can say it as a diameter. The diameter of the RBC is around 7 micron and having the thickness around 2 micron. Okay, so we can write our next point. The diameter is about 7 micron and thickness is about 2 micron. Okay. Next one term is there, student, that is your, we can say, the hematocrit. What do you mean by hematocrit? Hematocrit means it is the volume of the RBC that is present inside the blood, and that volume is around 15 to 40%. Means the 15 to 40% of the blood consists of RBC, and that volume of the RBC which is present inside the blood, that term, one term has been given, that is all called hematocrit. Okay, hematocrit. Hematocrit means what? Once more I am telling you, don't be confused. It is the volume, or we can say volume of the RBC present inside the blood, that is known as hematocrit, and the percentage is around 15 to 40% of the blood consists of the RBC. Okay, student, clear? The volume of RBC present in the blood is known as, or we can say the hematocrit means the volume of the RBC present in the blood. What is the percentage, students? The percentage is around 15 to 40% of blood. Okay, 15 to 40% of blood consists of RBC. Okay. Next point, students, as we discussed that in the case of the RBC, the lifespan is about 120 days. As we have discussed the details of the RBC, one important point you should remember, that the lifespan means one RBC can remain up to how many days or exist up to how many days. So then your answer will be the lifespan of the RBC is 120 days. It is one of your objective, it may come, that is lifespan of RBC is how many days. Then your answer will be 120 days. Okay. So our next point is lifespan of RBC is about 120 days. Next point, students, as we discussed that in the case of the RBC it is basically non-nucleated. As we have discussed, it is the point, in the case of the RBC it is being non-nucleated. But in some cases, students, in the case of the RBC in some animals, the nucleus is being present, or we can say the nucleus is the RBC consists of the nucleus, and the answer will be the camel and the llama. In the case of the camel and the llama, the RBC consists of the nucleus. So this one is your exception. We can write in camel, you know, camel and llama, RBC consists of nucleus. Okay, RBC consists of nucleus. Okay, next point, which organism have the smallest RBC? Then your answer will be musk deer. Which have the largest RBC? Then your answer will be amphibian. The animals, those have the largest, we can say, the RBC. Okay, so we can write our next point. Smallest RBC is found in the case of the musk deer. Okay, musk deer, whereas the largest RBC are found in the case of the amphibians. Okay, next point, in the case of the RBC it is devoid of any cell organelle. Cell organelle devoid of means what? Means it does not consist of any sort of organelles such as mitochondria, ribosome, Golgi complex. No cell organelles are present. That is why it is being told that the RBC is devoid of the, we can say, the cell organelle. Means no cell organelle is being present in the case of the RBC. Okay, RBC is devoid of cell organelles. Okay, okay, means the RBC does not have any type of or any form of, we can say, the cell organelles. Okay, so what point we have discussed, friends? In the RBC, the red blood corpuscles, the word comes from the erythros, means red, cytes means the cell. Okay, the RBC is being non-nucleated, means nucleus is completely absent. Okay, completely absent, and it is biconcave in shape, means tapered in shape. Diameter is about, we can say, 7 micron and thickness is about 2 micron. Hematocrit means what? The volume of the RBC present in the blood, or we can say 15 to 40% of blood consists of RBC. Lifespan of RBC is about 120 days. In camel and llama, the RBC consists of nucleus. Okay, means, and the smallest RBC is seen in the case of musk deer. Largest RBC is seen in the case of the amphibians organism, and the RBC is basically devoid of the cell organelle, means cell organelles are completely absent in the case of the RBC. Okay, students, please note down. Now, student, come to some more point of the red blood cell or the RBC. The RBC count in the case of the male is much, we can say, quite more as compared to the, we can say, the female. In the female, the, we can say, the RBC count is about 4.5 to 5 million per cubic millimeter, whereas in the case of the male, the count is around, we can say, 5 to 5.5 million per cubic millimeter. So we can write the point. In male, the RBC count is about 5 to 5.5 million per cubic millimeter, whereas in the case of the female, it is about, we can say, 4.5 to 5 million per cubic millimeter. Okay. You can see the student shape. This one is the RBC. When we look at it from the front, as you see, its shape is somehow looks like this one. But if you see from the side view, you can see the shape. As I said, both sides are in the concave, so that is why it is, we can say, biconcave in shape. As the both sides are concavely present, that is why we can say the shape of the RBC is biconcave. Okay. Next point. What is the Rolex formation? Students, RBC have the power or tendency to adhere together to form as a structure such as the piles of the coins. Means what? You can see the RBC, when the RBC flow in the blood, sometimes they forms the, means they joins, means one upon another, they forms a structure such as like the coins. You can see, student, as we will put one coin, another coin upon that, another coin upon that, another coin upon that, how the structure is being, it looks like, exactly it looks like the piles of the coins. When as the RBC have the tendency to adhere together, means to attach together. So sometimes the RBC, as it have the tendency to adhere together, it forms a structure such as the, we can say, the piles of coins to form a important structure that is called the RBC Rolex. Okay, we will write this point. RBC have the tendency to adhere, means attach, adhere together to form a structure such as like piles of coins. Okay, piles means one upon another, piles of coins to form the, or we can say to form the RBC Rolex. RBC Rolex. Okay. So this peculiar characteristics or this characteristics is only present in the case of the RBC. Okay, not in the WBC. Next, students, we will discuss, obviously the RBC is present in some sort of medium. So in two cases we will discuss, first in the hypotonic medium, then in the hypertonic medium. Before writing that, first we have to know what is the medium means. Medium means, students, suppose a liquid is being present or a concentration is present. When it will be told as hypertonic, first I will make you the concept, then I will make you understand the thing. Hypertonic means what? Always remember, if you are resembling hypertonic, hypotonic, isotonic, means we are taking two substances. We have to compare two substances. What is hypotonic? First I will tell you hypotonic. Remember, hypotonic means concentration is low. Always remember, in any liquid there are two main things. One is the water content, one is the ion content, or the salt content or the ion content. If the ion content or the salt content, okay, or the solute content is higher, okay, hypotonic, no, is lower and the water content is high, then it is known as hypotonic, means having the concentration low. Hypertonic means the concentration higher, means the solute content will be higher, water content will be low as compared to the another substance. What I will now I will make you understand. See, hypotonic medium means, student, remember, solute content is high. Writing repeatedly I am telling this. Solute content is low, but the solvent content, means the water, is being high. Okay, I have given this symbol, don't confuse. Okay, solute content is low, solvent content is high as compared to the RBC. That should be comparable if you are writing the tonic medium. Similarly, hypertonic means the solute content will be high, but the solvent content will be low. Now what will happen, students? See, As RBC is present in the hypotonic medium, means in the outer medium, means this medium, solute is low but the solvent or the water is high. If here the water is high and here in the RBC water is low, then obviously the flow of the water will be from the hypotonic medium to the RBC. That is why I have given the direction of the water, by which finally the RBC swells up and lastly it bursts, and that cell, the bursting of the cell is known as your red cell ghost. Understood? Similarly, first I will write this one, then this process is known as hemolysis, means rupturing, this breaking of the RBC. Hemo means we can say RBC, lysis means break. This rupturing, this breaking of the RBC is known as your hemolysis. Okay, first I will write, then I will go to the crenation portion. See, in the hypotonic medium where the water concentration is high, where the water is concentration, or we can say the solvent, it will be better, water, where the water concentration or the water level is high, what happens? Endoosmosis occurs. Endoosmosis occurs and the water enters into the RBC. Water enters into the RBC, by which the RBC swells up and finally burst. And this bursting of the RBC is known as your red cell ghost. This bursting of the RBC is nothing but, we can say, the red cell ghosts. Name is given, or we can say simply it will be better, the ruptured RBC. The most prominent word will be ruptured RBC. Ruptured RBC. Okay, students. So this one is your, we can say, the red cell ghost. Next, the crenation means what? Similarly, we will now take the hypertonic medium. What will happen? See, student, if hypertonic means solute concentration is high, water concentration is low as compared to the RBC. That is why what happened? The water will come out of the RBC into the medium. See, I have given the coming direction from the RBC water into the medium. Okay, that is why what happens? From the RBC, at the water content will come out, it will shrunk, and that shrunken RBC is known as the echinocytes, and here the we can say osmosis occurs, and this phenomenon is known as the crenation. Okay, let's write it. In the hypertonic medium where the solute concentration is high, or we can say where the water level is low, where it will be more easy to understand in this format. Water level is low, what happened? Exoosmosis occurs and water comes out of the RBC into the medium, comes out of the RBC into the medium, Okay, here what I have written, water enters into the RBC. Here we have written RBC into the medium. Okay, into the medium, by which shrunken or by which the RBC shrinks, and that shrunken RBC is known as the echinocyte. What happened in the medium and the RBC shrinks. Okay, and that shrunken RBC is known as your echinocyte. Here I am writing the last point, that shrunken RBC is known as your echinocytes. Echinocytes. Okay, student. So what I have written here, in the hypotonic medium where the water level is low, the exoosmosis occurs and the water comes out of the RBC into the medium, and the RBC shrinks, and shrinks means from the swollen portion it becomes shrink, or normal portion position or normal shape it becomes shrink. That shrunken RBC is known as echinocyte. Here that ruptured RBC is known as your red cell ghost. Okay, students. So now what we have discussed, RBC in the male having the count 5.25 to 5.5 million per cubic millimeter, female 4.5 to 5 million per cubic millimeter. Rolex means the RBC have the tendency to adhere together to form the RBC Rolex, such as piles of coins. Hemolysis means rupturing of the RBC. Crenation means we can say shrunkening of the RBC. Okay, when the RBC is present in the hypotonic medium, water enter into the RBC. Finally, it swells up and bursts. That bursting or the ruptured RBC is known as red cell ghost. When it is present in the hypertonic solution, what happens? The water comes out of the RBC into the medium, by which the RBC shrinks, and that shrunken RBC is known as echinocytes, in which the exoosmosis occur. In the hemolysis, endoosmosis occur. In the crenation, the exoosmosis occurs. Okay, students, please note down. Now come, students, how the RBC or the red blood cells are being developed. So the process of the formation of the RBC is known as the erythropoiesis. Okay, in the embryo it is being formed or produced in the, we can say, in the liver, spleen, lymph node, but in the case of the adult it is being formed in the case of the bone marrow. Okay, so we can write the process of formation of RBC, or we can say the process of formation of RBC. Process of formation of RBC is known as erythropoiesis. Okay, it is being formed or it is being produced in the, we can say, the liver, spleen and the lymph node. Liver, spleen and the lymph node. Okay, in the case of the embryo, but in the case of the adult it is being formed in the bone marrow. Bone marrow means the long bone having the cavity, that is called the bone marrow, where the RBC is being formed, such as your long bone, that is your thigh bone. Okay, the bone marrow in the case of the adult. Okay, next come to your student the WBC or the white blood cells or the leukocytes. These are generally large, colorless, nucleated and amoeboid cells. Okay, these are generally large, colorless, nucleated and amoeboid cells. Okay, obviously it one is large as compared to the RBC, colorless, having the nucleus, that is why nucleated, and the amoeboid cells means students, this can, as the amoeba can change the shape and size, this the WBC can also change the structure. So these are, we can say, the amoeboid cells. The WBC count is about, we can say, it's much lower as compared to the RBC, having the ratio around 1:600. its count is lower as compared to RBC in the ratio 1:600, means 600 for every 600 RBC there is 1 WBC, or we can say 1 millimeter or cubic millimeter of blood consists of 7,000 to 8,000 WBC. Okay, so these are some introduction portion of the, we can say, the WBC. Okay, next point, the leukopenia, increased amount of the WBC in the blood is known as leukopenia, such as during pneumonia, during the leukemia. Okay, so we can write increase in number of WBC. Okay, in which situation, such as the pneumonia. Okay, this is one of your respiratory disorder, also breathing disorder or breathing difficulty we see in the case of the pneumonia. Then the leukemia. Okay, this is a disorder in which the WBC abnormal count increases. Okay, similarly the leukocytes decrease in the number of WBC during any infection, decreasing in the count of a number of WBC, decrease in number of WBC. Okay, this occurs during infection. Next point, diabetes. What is diabetes? The WBC have the power to squeeze out of the blood capillary and diffuse into the tissue. Okay, suppose this one is we can say the blood flow. Okay, these are having the WBC, and this is the site of the infection of the tissue. Okay, or we can say the infection level in the tissue. Okay, this one is a tissue level. So what happens, students, whenever it seems to be any infection is being formed, what happens, we can say it squeeze out of the capillary, to, we can say, normalize the situation, or we can say kill the infection, or we can say to prevent from the disease. So we can say it has the peculiar capillarity, that characteristic is known as diabetes. Means what? The WBC have the power to squeeze out of capillaries into the tissue. Okay, this power is known as the diapetesis. During the infection, from the blood capillary, the WBC squeeze out into the tissue. This power is of the WBC, or characteristics of the WBC is known as your diapetesis. Okay, similarly, what is the development procedure in the case of the WBC? That is your leukopoiesis. Okay, one more point I have left, student. The erythropoietin hormone helps in the formation of the RBC. Please add. Here we can add the hormone which is responsible for the formation of RBC. Your answer will be erythropoietin. Okay, erythropoietin hormone helps in the RBC formation. Okay, at this point. So the process of formation of the WBC is simply known as leukopoiesis. The process of formation of WBC is known as leukopoiesis. Okay, the site of formation is, we can say, in the bone marrow, thymus. Okay, site of formation such as commonly bone marrow, okay, then the thymus, okay, where the WBC is generally formed in the bone marrow, thymus region also. Here the places where the WBC is being found. Okay, so what we have studied now, erythropoiesis, the process of formation of RBC is known as erythropoiesis. In the embryo, it is being formed in the liver, spleen and the lymph nodes, whereas in the adult, it is being formed in the bone marrow. And the hormone which is responsible for the RBC formation, that is known as your erythropoietin. Now come to the WBC. Large, colorless, nucleated amoeboid cells are the WBC. Its count is lower as compared to the RBC in the ratio 1:600. Means for every 600 RBC, there is one WBC. Okay. 1 cubic millimeter of blood consists of 7,000 to 8,000 WBC. Leukopenia, increase amount in the number of the WBC during pneumonia or the leukemia, etc. Leukocytosis, decrease in the number of WBC during the infection. Diapedesis, WBC have the power to squeeze out of the capillary into the tissue during any, we can say, sort of infection or when the pathogen enters. Then the development, leukopoiesis, the process of formation of the WBC is known as leukopoiesis, and the site of formation is simply, we can say, bone marrow, thymus, etc. Okay students, please note down. Students, we can add two more area, that is your lymph node and the spleen. Okay, lymph node, okay, and the spleen. Okay, as it is in the place in the embryo, the liver, spleen and the lymph node in the case of embryo, and in the case of adult, the bone marrow. Similarly, the site of formation of the WBC is such as the bone marrow, thymus, lymph node and the spleen. Okay, please just add this point. Now students, we will discuss the types of the granulocytes of the WBC. As we discussed, the WBC is of two types, granulocyte and the agranulocyte. Granulocyte means granules are being present, and the granulocytes are being further classified into three groups. One, we can say the eosinophil, okay, next is the basophil, and the third one is your, we can say, the neutrophil. In the eosinophil, it is being stained by using the acidic dyes such as, we can say, the eosin, whereas the basophils are stained by using the basic dye such as the, we can say, the methylene blue, whereas the neutrophils are being stained by using the neutral dye, that is called the gemsa. That is why we can say it is the called as the eosinophil, this one is called the basophil, and this one is called as the neutrophil. The eosinophil are also called as the acidophil or the oxyphil. Okay students, you can see the structure. In the eosinophil, more amount of, we can say, granules are present, having the nucleus shape bilobed, means two lobes are present. In this, the granules, few granules are present, and the nucleus shape is somehow, we can say, S-shaped. Whereas in the case of the neutrophil, the nucleus shape is somehow, we can say, the many lobes are present, or we can say drumstick shaped. Okay students, next point. Granules in the case of the eosinophil are large, whereas in the case of the basophils it is few. Next come to the diameter. The diameter of the eosinophil is about 10 micrometer to 12 micrometer, and the number is vary from the 100 to 400 per cubic millimeter of the blood. Means every cubic millimeter of the blood consists of 100 to 400 eosinophil. Whereas in the case of the basophil, the size is around 10 micrometer to 15 micrometer. Okay students, now come to the percentage. 1 to 5% of the total WBC consists of eosinophil, whereas 0.5 to, or we can say 2% of the, we can say, the WBC consists of the basophil, whereas the remaining major 65% of the WBC consists of, we can say, the neutrophil. Okay students, next, the eosinophils are being related to the immunity and the allergic condition. Means in the allergic condition, or we can say it provides immunity. Means whenever some foreign particles or pathogen enters into our body, it creates the immune response to protect from the foreign particles. Okay, that is why it is related to the allergy or the condition, and also provide the immunity. Now, the lifespan in the case of the eosinophil is about 14 hours. The lifespan in the case of the basophil is about 8 to 12 hours. But in the case of the neutrophil, the lifespan is somehow longer, that is we can say 2 to 4 days. But whereas in the case of the neutrophil, it is related to the phagocytosis. Phagocytosis means it engulfs the pathogen. Means whenever any foreign particles enter into our body, it engulfs it and it kills it, by which it protects to our body by engulfing, or we can say by the process of the phagocytosis, or we can say it is phagocytic in nature. Okay students, and last point, if the here also the basophil also, it is related to the allergic reaction, means if foreign particles enters, it creates immune response. Next, if eosinophil level increases or the number of the eosinophil increases, then what happens? That case is nothing but we can say the eosinophilia. Eosinophilia, it is the case in which increase in number of eosinophil takes place. So students, we discussed in detail about the eosinophil, so many points. We discussed detailed points about the basophils also, and also we discussed number of so many points about the neutrophils. Just remember, in the eosinophil the nucleus is bilobed, in the basophil the nucleus is S-shaped, whereas in the case of the neutrophil the nucleus are having the many lobed or the drumstick shaped. Okay students, please note down. Lastly, we will discuss about the division of the A granulocyte. Okay, means it is the type of the WBC in which the granules are completely absent. It is of two types. One is your lymphocyte, other one is your we can say the monocyte. Lymphocyte means students, it is having the small or it consists of the small or the large lymphocyte. Okay, this one, the T lymphocyte, it is one is of we can say the large lymphocyte, and the B lymphocyte is the smallest the smaller lymphocyte. Students, you can mark one point here, it having the indented nucleus. Indented nucleus means what? Nucleus is covered maximum area, or we can say the nucleus is covering the maximum area. Okay, whereas the B lymphocyte, it helps in production of the antibody, okay, which helps in the wound healing, or we can say it produces some antitoxin, means which act against the various toxic substances. We will write see. The lymphocyte give rise to antibodies and antitoxin which helps in the wound healing, and also these are found more in number in the lymph. Okay, and it is also concerned with the immunity, means it helps in the creating or forming the immunity response, or we can say it creates the immune response which fight against the foreign particles, okay, or any form of pathogen. Other type is your monocyte. It consists of one large nucleus having the large indented nucleus. It is also case of the indented nucleus. It is the largest leukocyte. First point is the monocyte is the largest leukocyte. It having the larger, the horseshoe shaped, bean shaped, okay, or the sub-rounded nucleus. Okay, it having the width around 50 micrometer. It is manufactured in the lymphatic gland, and it is being phagocytic in nature, means it engulfs the foreign particles, it engulfs the pathogens which enters into our body and which is harmful for our body. It basically it engulfs and kills it. That is why it is said as the phagocytic in nature. Okay. So till now we discussed the A granulocyte types, lymphocyte and the monocyte. Okay students, the largest leukocyte is nothing but we can say the monocyte. So students, today we discussed the complete portion of the blood composition. In the previous class we discussed the plasma, also we discussed the introduction portion of the blood. What are the plasma proteins are present, or we can say the nutrients are present in the case of the plasma, which is having the 60% of the blood. Today we discuss the cellular component, which consists of the 40% of the blood. It is of three types: the RBC, erythrocyte, or we can say the WBC, and also the blood platelet. Okay students. Next we discussed in the case of the RBC, that the RBC, it is we can say the non-nucleated, means nucleus is completely absent. Okay. Next we discussed that its shape is we can say the biconcave like shape, having the we can say in the case of some exception are there, in the camel and then in the llama the nucleus is present. The smallest RBC it is found in the case of the musk deer. The largest it is being found in the amphibian RBC. Next we discuss the hemolysis, in which the endosmosis occurs, the rupture of the we can say RBC occurs. It is called the red cell ghost. And in the other case we discuss the exoosmosis, where the shrunkening of the RBC takes place. It is known as echinocytes. Further, we discussed the various types of the WBC on the presence of the granules. If granules are present, it is called the granulocyte. If not present granules, then it is known as the agranulocyte. In the granulocyte, we discussed the eosinophil, basophil, and the neutrophil in detail. And what are the shape of the nucleus also we discussed. And also, lastly, we discussed the agranulocyte, such as the lymphocytes and the monocytes, which comes under the agranulocyte. So today completely we discussed the composition of blood, the cellular part, and also the RBC, WBC. Blood platelet we will discuss in the next class, and also in the previous class we discussed the plasma. So students, your blood composition is one of your important long question. So do remember, okay. So in the next class we will discuss about the blood platelets, and also some more discussion we will have. So that's all for today. We will meet in our next class. Thank you.